Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Helen Mtembu and I discuss all things homesteading, homemaking, and homeschooling. So today I'm going to take you through a passage in my yard which I have created a green space, and I wanted to have just a pocket of peace on the side of the house and to just utilize the space so that it's not bare and just, barren looking. And so this is the first space that I've created for the summer season, and in the next few videos I'll show you the other spaces that I've created. And so I'm going to take you through just a gentle walk and explain what I have, and so that you can see the update. If you do want to see the previous video that I created with me potting the seedlings and preparing my new containers for the new season, that video is in the description below. Okay, so let's go through the garden. This is the front section with beans and tomatoes in the cinder block. Well, each cinder block has one tomato plant, and I've opted for the cherry tomatoes because the block would have enough soil to hold the plants and to give us some nutritious tomatoes. I have here, you can see there are 3 tomato plants at the bottom, although I will thin them out. I also have nasturtium, which is actually growing on the outside. I do have some in the passage coming up, but I'm not a fan of nasturtiums because they attract aphids, which are supposed to then go to the nasturtium and not your plants. But then I find they always come onto my plants. So I'm not a fan of nasturtiums around my veg, but where it's growing, it seems perfect. Most of my veg are in buckets. I use 9 liters and 12-liter buckets. And in the front, I have red and black. I love to keep my space curated and not just have color everywhere. So here I've got some sweet corn, sage, parsley, and 1 or 2 of these buckets have cherry tomatoes. This little plant is the Cape gooseberry, which will give me some fruits. Maybe not this year, but definitely next year. So the containers are now in the 7th week of growing, I think, 6th or 7th week of growing. And you can see the plants are looking very green and lush. And this is without rain. So I can only imagine when the rain starts how my garden will just pop out. These 2 buckets still have baby plants, tomatoes, and Chinese cabbage. I've got sunflowers as well popping through, and some corn in these buckets. These buckets are just put in the side against the wall just to take up that space, because I don't like areas of the yard that look, ugly and messy. I don't like that. I'd rather fill them up with a plant or a pot plant. This bag has kale and parsley and some beetroot. I may move these in the future, but I'll see how it goes. This is the path where the water runs, but the way I've curated it, the water actually runs behind these plants. I've made a sort of a passageway, and then it will drain out on the main road. So this passage, the first passage leads into this doorway and takes me through to the main passage that I've just completed curating. As you can see, I'm using buckets and grow bags. I do like these little dishes as well because things like beans or just some herbs can do well in it, and they are very, very cheap as well. These, in this corner, I've got parsley, sage, beetroot, lots of beans, and by the way, my garden has about 13 varieties of beans. So as much as you see beans growing everywhere, almost every plant or every container has a different variety. So when it comes to harvest time, it will be interesting to see the varieties and the colors of beans that I'll be harvesting. And I love beans because we have 2 kids that are vegetarian, and so our diet is a lot of beans as well. This is also a Cape gooseberry plant, which will become a little tree soon. I'm so excited for that. It is my first fruit. And then in the front, I also have mulberries. This is my herb corner. I may move these to bigger containers, but I'm not sure for now. I just have them there. When you are gardening, some things, make sense to move, and other things, they can just stay where they are, and you can see at a later stage what you really want to do. Not everything with gardening has to be an immediate decision. Some things you can just play it out and see what works for your garden and see what you need to move where. So when you put things in permanent places and then you find that that plant is not doing well in the container it is or in the place it is, it becomes so challenging to move it. So I like the flexibility of this container garden, that depending on the weather, or it being a windy day or something, I can always move things around and then lay them out again when the weather is stable. So this just seems to work for me. Here I have a lot of grow bags as well. I love the grow bags. They actually were not expensive. They were about 30 rand to 50 rand depending on the size. And I find that they are very breathable for the roots of the plants. I don't have to worry about drainage as well. So with most of my containers, I do find that you have to water them. Now the summer rains haven't kicked in, so I'm having to water them every day, which I do first thing in the morning. And I try not to expose them to too much sun. This area does have a shade net, and I've used a 60% shade net. I was trying to go for the 40%, but then I realized that no, I know this yard, it's very hot, and so it's better to go the 60%. And so yeah, look how lush and green my veggies are growing, just from the reduction of the sun rays, and just being in that passage, which is a lot cooler, and the wind also goes through nicely. I've got two varieties of sweet corn, and I've got mealies or maize in some of the containers. There is one or two containers that I mix the sweet corn and the mealies up, so we'll see when it's time to harvest how that works out. I'm a lover of Chinese cabbage, so I've got quite a few seedlings that I will be potting once I get another batch of containers. So for now, they're just staying in there. At least when the containers come, they'll be ready to be moved. As you see these cinder blocks between the grow bags, I will be having some plastic grow bags in each cinder block that will fill out the garden. So for now, I just don't have the grow bags yet, the small planter grow bags. But when I do have them, then each cinder block, as you can see here, the holes are empty. I will have the bags in there with something growing. These long grow bags were quite tricky to use because they need to be balanced. And as you can see, I've put them against the wall and then I've pushed the bricks to keep them upright and firm, or else they just flop down. And I don't know, when I bought them, they looked really interesting to have. But when it was time to use it, it just seemed complicated for me. But anyway, I figured out that as long as they have that support with the bricks, then it seems to work and it keeps the place tidy. So yes, this is the end of the tour, and you can see how I've curated the space. You can see the artwork I have on the walls, and I just love having a space where I can lay with my kids on a blanket in the passage, and we can have something cool to drink and have snacks and just enjoy our space. And one would never say that we are living in the township, having so much green, and our space is quiet. That's the funny thing. So, until the next video, do like and subscribe, and please do share my channel with anybody that you know, especially someone who may be keen on learning how to create a homestead in the township. Until then, bye bye.